Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one's going to be for chapter 161, which is called Never Be Alone. And before we get into going through it page by page, what I'll say about this one is that overall I actually thought it was a very good chapter, but also a very sort of, straightforward to the point chapter in that for the most part, I think there is only one real thing to discuss coming out of this, and that's obviously the location they reveal we're sort of heading towards. And it being like, yes, that's perfect, that's exactly what we need to do. I wonder how this is going to play out. The rest of the chapter is basically just the sort of, the kind of negativity initially upon hearing this. And then Emma building everyone up to, we're ready to go into the final battle. And in that sense, this chapter accomplishes everything that it needs to do, but, it's not the most in-depth chapter. So, it plays its role perfectly, pretty much. For a chapter covering what it's covering, it does everything it needs to do, and I think that's probably the best thing to say about it. So let's go through this. So we start off by basically answering the question we had from the end of last week's chapter, which is, okay, everyone's gone, all the other kids are gone from Norman's hideout. What happened? Did they manage to escape somehow, or have they been captured by Peter Rattray's forces? It was almost like, is it going to be the very obvious path, and have it be what they set up in the last chapter, and be Peter Rattray's forces, or will they do something different? They went down the obvious path, but it ultimately led to some really good setup that's going to be so exciting to see. So they confirm within the first page that yes, Peter Rattray arrives in a flashback here. We see him arrive, and what he says is just, "Good day, my dear cattle children," as we get the tagline here at the start. Despair descends as everyone runs in fear from him, and obviously we later learn in the chapter that everyone else was kidnapped. So this is where we basically catch our other characters up with what was going on here. So we have everyone rushing back to the hideout to obviously catch up with what's going on. This is where Vincent comes out from behind a tree and basically reveals that he and the other sort of Norman lieutenants, the other Lambda kind of characters, come out and say that we've actually waited here, we wanted to see how you were. And it's just a really nice moment that shows, the characters, caring about each other, and that they were worried about Norman, he's worried about them, and he's happy to see that even though they're injured, that they're still alive and that they're going to be okay. And they're so thankful that Norman has survived this whole process. So really nice stuff. They apologize for not following the orders, but it shows how much they care. And I think they've done a good job with these characters of showing their loyalty to Norman, and just that Norman coming out of this now has sort of two kind of families in a way, and now these Lambda characters are sort of part of the overall group. And I think that that worked really well, because we were sort of suspicious of like, oh, if this goes the wrong way, will they let their want for revenge get ahead of everything else? But they haven't, and they've ultimately care about the people more than anything else. So that was nice to see. And yeah, Vincent just explained, yeah, we waited for you, you said you'd be following right behind us, so we waited, and we could just get the confirmation that yes, you were able to take down the Queen. So Vincent brings out the horses, so this is how they're going to get back to the hideout very quickly, and they immediately head there. But just as this is about to happen, Oliver arrives and reveals that it's terrible. Everyone, the hideout was, and we cut back and we see, the kind of hideout in ruins, basically, like we saw before. Gillian is also there, and a couple of other characters, and Nigel and so on. So this is where we get the confirmation. So we went ahead and tried to let them know what was going on, but we were too late. They'd already been attacked. It was a detached unit of troops. There were plenty of them. There are plenty of others aside from them. We were able to confirm that they number about 2,000. This is where we get the confirmation here. They were kidnapped by them. Even all of our lookouts, there's no one left. So the obvious question is, where were they taken? Gillian says that we nabbed a demon that was trying an ambush back at the hideout and made it talk. So the tease of this is the demon saying ... IELD, yes, the escapees are, And then she says, right now everyone is being transported to the closest high quality farm with strong defenses so they can be processed as food, to Gracefield House. This is the big reveal of the chapter, that this is where we're heading, this is where the finale is going to take place, and it's absolutely perfect. I think it fits on so many levels. It makes sense to happen now, but then just in terms of the entire story, it also makes sense that, you know, we're going back to the place where it all started. And there's so much that I think works about this reveal. The fact that like everyone in the hideout's been transported back there. Most of our main characters who are going to be involved in the fight are heading there, and then a lot of our sort of characters who've been absent for a while are pretty much already located around there. So the likes of Phil, Isabella, and then all the younger kids who we had to leave behind back in the first arc, they're all back there. So this is a way to group everyone that we sort of care about within the story up together and create a situation where it really is the fight at the end of the series, where everyone important is involved. So fantastic reveal in that, you know, it was, I suppose, potentially obvious that this is perhaps the way they'd go about doing it, but you know, I suppose the fact that, you know, okay, Peter Rattray sent Andrew to Gracefield House to talk to Phil, but we never really caught up with what was going on there. And it was just like, okay, it doesn't obviously seem like they've taken over. So I think we just thought that Gracefield House was just going to be a farm that hadn't been, like, destroyed yet. So are they going to do much with it? But yes, we're going back here. This is the scene of the final battle, and this has to be where they use Phil. This has to be where we get reintroduced to Isabella, and so on. But anyway, we get the explanation here. Norman says, I see, at Gracefield, which is under Everk's control, it would be easy to hide the escapees right under the eyes of the nobles and present them to the Queen. Hayato's freaking out, says, what can we do? They have 2,000 royal troops. And the next couple of pages are basically everyone realizing the reality of this situation, that we are looking terrible going into this battle. Like, us, this group that we have, just a few of us, against 2,000 plus demons plus the Rattray clan. This is not going to work, and the only reason the plan to attack the capital worked was because we had Jiren at the time, and he cleared the way completely for us. And now, like, there's just over 10 of us, and Jillian points out that, like, 3 of the main fighters, the, like, Norman's, like, Lambda friends, the lieutenants, most of them are injured and not particularly in any condition to fight. So how are they going to save, like, hundreds of people with only a certain group up against hundreds? Everyone is beginning to get worried. You see the morale dropping completely. Even Vincent, who's, like, one of the more strategic characters, is like, I don't think there's a plan. And then we cut to the next page, and Emma is immediately like, let's go to Gracefield. No hesitating, let's go and save everyone. Ray's like, yeah, we know, we're just trying to figure out how to do that. Do you have a plan? And Emma just says, no, but we can think of one on the way there. So idealistic Emma returns here. Aishi is like, is she real? And then just the reactions are fun, you know. There she goes, that's Emma for you. But instead of thinking, what could we... but instead of thinking, we can't, what could we possibly do? It's way better to think we can, we'll definitely pull it off. It'll all be okay. The 3 of us are together again, referring to herself, Ray, and Norman. And you're all here too, referring to, like, Gilda, you know, Aishi, everyone else who's joined them along the way. Everyone has helped change the world. Us measly kids born inside of a cage have gone and changed this world. Changed the world this far, and now there's only one more step. We just have to go and take it. The Rattray clan and 2,000 royal troops will be a piece of cake. We can do it. We'll be fine. So believe in yourselves and think. And this is when Norman starts to laugh. So everyone else is beginning to, you know, get their, you know, their hopes up, get behind, you know, Emma's sort of burst of confidence here. And this is such a great moment as Norman just begins to burst out laughing. You know, a proper, honest laugh here. seeing classic Emma again. Like, he's getting inspired by one of her speeches, like he did sort of earlier on in the series. He knows her so well, and he's getting to see that again here. And the great thing about that panel as well is that the reactions from the people who have never really got to see this side of him. So, you have Vincent, Hayato, and the others there just be like, who is this Norman, like, laughing like this? We've never seen him like this. Because he was so serious in terms of executing the plan, and as the leader of that group, as Minerva, basically. So they're getting to see a new side of him, the side that, of course, Emma and Ray, when they came in, knew all too well was there. And so he says, somehow Emma's words make me feel like we really can do it. Gillian is like, yeah, they really do. And Nigel's like, she's been right about everything up until now. So, and their confidence is coming back. Ray speaks up and says, we failed before and there's a lot to regret, but you'll never find anything if you're too afraid to look for it. And it's just like, yeah, everyone's beginning to speak up here. So Vincent says, if we can kill them now, everyone will be safe. Gilda says, 2,000 demons, the Ratri clan must want us to challenge them head on. Dawn says, but if we're talking about Gracefield, then we have the entire layout of it from the data that we got from Minerva. And then, we have, Gillian saying, oh, we'll be breaking in. And yes, Emma says it's decided. And a great reaction here from Norman as he sees, like, Emma has just led this renewal in morale, basically. And he's like, is that so? This is how. Emma has come so far. And he remembers, like, what she said to him earlier on of, like, you aren't alone. This is kind of what got him back on side here. That's it. I remember this feeling. It's okay to be weak. We are not alone. That's why us humans can be so strong. And yeah, we see the entire group that we have here, the entire force that's going to attack 2,000 and potentially save hundreds here, ready, kind of up on the ridge, looking over Gracefield. And the final line here is, whether we'll be laughing or crying, this is the end. Let's go. Our family is waiting as they charge in. So what we see here is, of course, that we have characters with bows and arrows here at the front. A few characters in the back have guns. We see that, like, the likes of, like, Zazie and these other the other kind of Lambda generals. They seem to be back on their feet. That the inspirational speech from Emma seems to have not only raised morale, but it seems to have almost, like, increased that healing ability, and so everyone wants to fight for this. So it's mostly characters that we know, named characters, but we do have a couple of sort of unnamed, kind of like Adam clones almost in the background, Lambda guys. So we have just a few extra forces. Aishi, of course, has her wolves as well, and so on. But yeah, pretty cool shot here, just seeing, like, Norman with the bow and arrow again. Emma's there at the front, Dawn, Gilda, and so on. And yeah, Emma leading the charge in at the end. And then that's the chapter. Like I said, it's straightforward, it's to the point. It is just quick catch up, reveal they've been taken to Gracefield, and then it's just a reaction of, like, how are we going to attack Gracefield with the amount of people that we have. Emma speaks up, gives people the confidence. Classic Emma just being herself. Great sort of, shonen main character writing here of just the simple but to the point but effective inspiration of a character like that, bringing everyone back on track. And I thought they did it well with, like, this is Norman seeing Emma do this for the first time in a while. So while we've seen Emma do this a lot, it is Norman's, like, first time hearing this sort of stuff in a while. And then for a lot of the Lambda characters, it's their first time really getting this inspirational speech. And for the likes of, say, Gillian and Nigel, like, they've heard it, like, once or twice before, but they're still getting used to just how inspirational Emma is, and just a setup of, like, they're just gonna go for it. There may not be any sort of a complicated plan, but the simplicity of just attacking them head on when maybe they don't expect them to might actually work in their favor. It might be able to, take them by surprise. But the immediate speculation going back to Grace Field is that, like, how is this exactly going to play out? Like, there's going to be a lot of demons here. We obviously have the Ratri clan itself to cover, and then there's obviously the hostages. Like, this is where I think you're going to see Phil used. I think Isabella is going to come back into things and play a pretty interesting role. I think her appearance is going to be a big moment when it happens. So that's going to be something to absolutely look out for. And then it's really going to be all about, like, character-wise, what did they do with Peter Ratri with regards to, like, I don't think he knows yet that the Queen has been killed. Like, I don't see how he could know that right now, but he's going to find out. And does that change anything when it happens, or does he just be like, oh, I can be the ruler of this demon world? And obviously, like, does he change his strategy? Because he'd have no reason to control the demon's supply of food, because he doesn't really need the demons necessarily anymore. That's where a lot of the complexity is going to come from. And just to see how the likes of Norman and Emma interact with Peter Ratri when it comes into play. Like, do we get backstory on more of the Ratri clan here? Because, like, we saw those flashback chapters a while ago at this point to, like, how the Ratri clan betraying the other clans, basically, and how this came about, the first promise. When does Emma activate this promise? Like, that's probably the big thing over the heads of everything, and that, like, can Emma, like, literally just call out in the middle of anything going on, I want the promise to activate now, and it works? Or does it have to play out in a very specific way? That's what we're not sure about just yet. But it's a great setup, and I'm just going to leave it there because I think there's only so much to speculate on right now when we only just have the beginning of this. But impressive chapter, and it's just an example of a simple idea for a chapter being done and executed very, very well. So they're my thoughts on chapter 161. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. How do you think this next arc is going to play out? But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.